thank you all for joining our masterclass. If you're not aware, this is a brand new session from the PreSales Collective. It's something we're trying out. The format, the idea is we're going to do these every other month with a little bit of discussion, instruction on a particular topic, and then break out into our separate rooms to talk about those. If you haven't met me yet, I'm Kevin Mefford, the head of community here at the PreSales Collective. So thank you all for joining. Very happy to have you here and for this first discussion. And our agenda for today is pretty simple. We'll take a few minutes for the introductions, and then we have a guest presenter on the topic of discovery tips. Bob is going to talk through some ideas around agile discovery. And then we're going to break out into about 30 minutes of discussion groups. So we'll split you up into rooms, a little bit smaller groups. It's a chance to discuss the topic, maybe what you're going to hear Bob speak about, as well as getting to know each other. So a little bit of networking and talking to each other along with that. We'll come back together about 10 till the top of the hour, just to wrap up, share any final thoughts, and then get you out a few minutes early. We don't want to run you all the way up into your next meeting. So thank you again for being here. Very much appreciate your support of everything within the PreSales Collective. As I mentioned, today's topics around some tips for making discovery a little bit more effective. And so I do want to introduce our speaker because over the years we've all heard a variety of speakers and trainers. Some of them are motivational, others bring out best practices, and still others are just offering up general skills. So our speaker today is very different. He and his firm, 2Win, help pre-sales professionals like us improve their careers through winning discovery, demo, storytelling, and executive conversation strategies and techniques. So allow me to formally introduce Robert Riefstahl. Bob is the founder of 2Win and author of 2 books, the global best-selling book, Demonstrating to Win, something that should be on every pre-sales professional's bookshelf. There we go, Michael, very nice. And his latest release, Rule of 24, also a great read. Bob's firm is the largest global training and consulting company that specializes in helping technology-based pre-sales professionals. He spent the first half of his career working for a variety of companies in the software and technology space, and his last position was actually as a vice president of sales for a major software company. So during this session, Bob's going to share some practical suggestions on what his firm refers to as agile discovery. So with that, let me turn it over to Bob.
Kevin, thank you. Thanks for having me. So our topic today, I wanted to start it with kind of what is commonly, I'd say, known and professed and talked about, almost as if it's chiseled on a tablet of stone as it relates to discovery. One of them is no demos will be performed without discovery. There's a lot of pre-sales leadership as well as pundits like myself and others that really believe in discovery ahead of a demo, and that you should never do a demo without discovery. And the other is that if you do discovery, demos with discovery, have minimal surprises. And while these are true, I would say they're not necessarily in reality cast in stone, because that reality. It's a bit like Get Real. People on this call, I know many of you have been into many situations where you got brought into a demo where there wasn't any discovery, or the sales rep said they did discovery, but a lot of information wasn't known, or you even had an opportunity to perform discovery, but a lot of information was underknown. Like the prospect funneled you to one person who's the spokesperson, the sponsor. They're going to answer the questions on behalf of everybody. And then you get into the demo and there's all kinds of surprises around every corner, right? I mean, you guys have all been there. So I didn't want to make this session so much about tips on how to do formal discovery. I think a lot of you have your methods and ways of performing formal discovery, and a lot's been written about formal discovery. I rather wanted to talk about discovery on the fly or agile discovery. That's the situation where you're in a demo, and in some fashion or another, either some discovery was performed or none at all. But the point being, the information you have is underknown, or the prospect, somebody in the audience just says, "Hey, show me this. Can you know what, that makes me think of this. Can you do this?" And they just start peppering you, if you will, with requests of what they want you to show. And when that happens, there's a fork in the road. You could, especially if you got a lot of deep product knowledge, you could demo it. Somebody requests, "Can you do this?" And sure can, let me show you. And you start to demo. I think most of the more mature pre-sales people on the call know that you got to be careful with that, because it can take you way off track. And all of a sudden you're just feature, and you've lost the message of the demo, right? But nonetheless, especially if you're experienced and you have a lot of deep product knowledge, it's pretty easy when somebody says, "Can you show me to do a demo?" The other option to the fork of the road is to sort of take a step back and do discovery on the fly. So at that point in time, since you kind of got surprised by this for whatever the reasons are, it's an opportunity to sort of dip into the discovery right then and there to learn a little bit more of the energy behind the request and what kind of outcomes are they looking for, and what are the issues they're having today. And you have to gauge how deep you go into this, but to get a little bit more information out of them before you decide what you're going to do, which could be demo, but it might be to defer and not show anything, even though you could, because strategically, the person making this request is going to take the demo off track, and the executive's in the room, and you don't want to do that. And now's not the time. So, you have decisions you can make, but you actually perform some discovery. Now, I would say that this form of discovery, discovery on the fly or agile discovery, is, to me, a little bit different natured than what you would normally do ahead of a demo from a discovery standpoint. A lot of the reasons for that is you have an agenda, you've got a lot of material you need to get through. So going really deep into a topic is probably not very practical all the time. So that's one aspect of it. The other is, it's almost like you're not necessarily doing discovery style questions. I mean, you are, but the approach, the process, if you will, is a lot more like question and objection handling in a lot of ways than it necessarily is in terms of formal pre-demo discovery. The reason for that is, in that moment, because you have the pressure right behind you of deciding, do you demo this or not? You need to understand what's behind it. Otherwise, you run a very valid risk of demoing the wrong thing, or answering the question wrong, or not understanding what's really behind it. And that really, you're just creating problems when you do that. So a 2-win for agile discovery. And in our discovery class, one of the first things we talk about is how to use question and objection handling and work with question and objection handling, and then use that methodology as your discovery on the fly. So we follow a process where the idea is, you first do a little bit of work to listen for a true understanding of what it is they want to see and what's behind it in an abbreviated fashion. And then you can respond with purpose and decide how you're going to respond. And we basically go through kind of a flow, and it isn't a linear flow. The graphic's a bit linear, but it's not meant to be a linear flow. You can kind of see the arrows moving around. You sort of pick and choose based upon the situation, the circumstances, where you're at in the agenda, everything else, as to which of these steps you do. But let me walk through them real briefly, just so you have a sense of what I'm talking about. Okay, the first step is when somebody says, can you show me how you do this? You have the option of paraphrasing their request. So it's a way of making sure you heard them and making sure they know you heard them. And paraphrasing is simply reflecting back your understanding and then confirming that understanding. It isn't parroting or repeating the question. That would be a bit awkward and weird to do that. It's paraphrasing it in a different way. So somebody asks you, can you reconfigure this process on the fly? Your paraphrasing might sound something like, well, what I heard you asking for is the ability for anybody who's doing this process to be able to jump into a configuration and change how that process works. Is that what you're looking for? And what I'm trying to do is get an understanding of what it is they're really looking for, make sure I don't fall into a trap, and make sure they know that I heard them. So it's just a good habit, and it shows people that you're listening. The next thing is this whole concept of clarifying. So kind of digging a little bit deeper into what it is that they're asking for and why they're asking for it, right? What's the reason? What is it? What pain are you trying to solve with this? Potentially, depending upon the request. What impact might it have? Getting some clarification from them so that you can say, well, when you say this, do you really mean you're trying to eliminate this? Just so when you finish, if you decide to demo it, when you finish demoing it, you now know what kind of a benefit statement to provide at the end of it too. Now, you can also, if you want, if it's an issue that they're having with what they're seeing, you demo and they start challenging what they're seeing, or they want to go in a different direction. It's a really good idea to empathize with their position. Doesn't mean you're agreeing with them. Just means you're empathizing. You understand. I can appreciate where you're coming from. I see that you feel this way about it. We've heard that before. And by the way, if you've heard it before, don't act like you've never heard it before. Just be genuine. Yeah, we've heard that before. And connect with the people. I mean, it's this empathy is a great way to open a pathway in their minds to whatever response you decide to provide. So again, you don't have to do all these steps. I'm not suggesting that you do. Look at the situation and decide what you need to do with this particular request on the fly. As you do this, and then you validate that you've got a complete understanding, now you have the information you need. You've listened for and have an understanding of what's the energy behind it, what's the impact going to be, why do you want to do this, and you can respond with purpose. So what I mean by respond with purpose, and I alluded to this earlier, is you could do what I refer to as a pivot response. An example of that would be a story or a case study or something like that responds to it because you can't demo it. It could be a straight response where you go right at with the request at that point and you demo to it. It could be a deferral. Even if you could demo it, you decide not to show it now because it's not the right time to do it, or it would take you off track. Or you prefer to follow up later because the person that's making these requests is taking everything off track and you're sensing that frustration from the group of stakeholders that are on the virtual call. So you make a strategic decision to defer, which this is a real good thing to communicate ahead of a demo to a salesperson, that even though you know that I might be able to show something, you might hear me defer something from time to time. Whatever you do, don't come back in and say, wait, we can do that. Why don't you show them that? Like, let them know not to do that ahead of time, right? You're in control. So an example of a pivot response is you incorporate a customer story into your response. You might have an analogy as to how you could solve the issue, even though you can't demo to it. It's more of a whiteboard, solve the issue, paint a picture thing. Or then you could go ahead and do a demo if you had the ability to do that. So these are a little more rare, especially when you're in a time crunch, because they take a bit of time. But if you don't have a really good answer to their request, this pivot response can be a good way to provide a response that softens the issue and doesn't make it such a big issue that you don't have that capability. The straight response or demo is most common is now that you have the information from your clarification from your process, now you can actually do the demo. You have now what you need. We believe in a demo process called tell, show, tell. For those of you that know us or read my book, know that is at the front end. You tell them what you're going to show them and provide them context of what they're about to see. Show them just what it is that you're planning on showing in that area, one topic at a time, and then provide a benefit. Well, the point of that active listening is you now have for your opening tell the ability to reflect back to them what it is you're going to show them, which was their request. That gives them that context, and it makes the demo go much quicker. You also have the information you need to provide the benefit. And as I mentioned already, you can defer, right? Can't demo it. It's a strategic reason you don't want to demo it. You could provide a response and say, I can't demo this right now because maybe you can't. Maybe you don't have the software configured to do it, or you don't have the knowledge in that area to show it. And say something like, I can't show that now, but what I could do is send a follow-up video that's maybe a minute, 2 minutes long, and it'll show you that functionality. And you can share that amongst your peers, or set up another meeting, which is so painful and hard to do with follow-up meetings. I find video to be a much better vehicle for that kind of follow-up. So that's the process and what we like to teach when it comes to agile discovery. Now, of course, in terms of questioning techniques, and do you ask an open-ended question? Do you ask leading open-ended questions? All of that is taught, and I think a lot of you understand those concepts. Open-ended questions are better than closed-ended. But when you're in a time crunch and you're in the heat of the moment, which a lot of you are in this very situation, this is a good process to follow for discovery. So Kevin, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Bob.